We have four wonderful people here telling us something about a journey they've gone through. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I hope this works. Yeah, it kind of works. And I thought that I would start today by saying, half of the people in this room know my name. They already know me, but I see some new faces. So the name is Ana Nać. I come originally from Serbia, but now I work in Raiffeisen headquarters in Vienna, and I work there as an agile coach.
Thanks for joining us today. My name is Carolin Wichtl-Willburger, and I also work for Raiffeisen. And I'm working in a product department. I'm responsible for 2 running products in the bank that are really time critical. But today I also want to share my experience working as a product owner in the past in this environment.
So good afternoon. My name is Tymon Wiedemair. I'm also working for Raiffeisen in Vienna. I started as product owner 3.5 years ago. Then I took over a IT department head position in what we call agile delivery compliance. So in the financial sanctions, AML area and so. And now I'm taking over a new role as heading data platforms. And I want to also give a bit of insights about the agile journey we went through in agile delivery compliance.
Dobar dan and hello. It's always my pleasure to be in Belgrade. I feel very good, and also I feel good on this stage. Thank you for joining us. I'm Lejla. I originally come from Bosnia, from Sarajevo. I work for Raiffeisen for ages. I'm bleeding yellow, but at the moment I'm representing Raiffeisen Bank International from head office Vienna together with my colleagues, where last 5 years I work as an agile coach.
Thank you. Now, I want to say before we go forward into the topic, I want to say and remind you that in a Match About application, there's a Q&A. So as you come up with questions for the Q&A at the end of this session, write them down in the application so that we have access to those questions at the end. So I'll be keeping an eye on that and helping us access the questions. Lejla, since you were the last to talk, would you please tell us what is the context of this session?
Let me maybe first try to click. Doesn't work, okay. Down. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. It doesn't work really. But I try to give the context. First, where do we really come from the organizational perspective?
Can you give me that clicker? Let's see if I can do it closer. Just let me know. Wherever I need to point it, I know. Now it's coming on.
Thank you. So, yeah, this is supposed to be in the background while I talk, but I can talk also without that. So, yeah, we are coming from head office Austria, Raiffeisen Bank International in Vienna, but actually we are here representing the RBI, how we call ourselves in short, in group. And this is a rather large financial group. We are present in, as you see, 13 markets. We have about 18 million customers, altogether 45,000 people working for Raiffeisen Bank International on all these markets. And I will not do any of the more marketing, but rather we thought it's important to set the context when we talk about our agile journey, what did that really mean, in which, what kind of environment we needed to operate. And when we say financial institution, then probably you can imagine all the highly regulated environments, all the traditional, extremely traditional habits and behaviors that you can imagine or witness when you go to bank, to post office or elsewhere, all the people with black suits, white collars, right? So we had to break a lot of patterns and mind barriers, I would say. So this will be actually our goal today, to share with you our journey and hopefully inspire some of you, but also to get your questions and feedback and learn from each other.
Do you want to talk, give a bit of introduction into the timelines that you're going to be talking about? I mean, you're not going to be talking about the whole life cycle or life of the bank. You're going to be talking about shorter
Yeah,
time.
we thought we just put some kind of main not achievements, like let's say milestones that happened, or stones that happened through our journey, because that's the point that we really would like to emphasize, that this was and still is a continuous learning journey that we have embarked long time ago. Actually, looking back this 6-7 years, this is where the transformation accelerated, and it's still ongoing. You will see from our sharings. But even before that, like long time ago, when we were working in highly traditional environment in projects, we started experimenting with agile methods and different practices, but still in project work. So what we consider as a real point of our transformation, starting accelerating point of our transformation, was 2017 actually. And I would not go in the details, but rather we will probably talk with colleagues and share our stories, then you can just connect with how was it in which year.
All right, so let's leave that on the background.
Yeah,
and
sure,
we can go
we can
back
keep
and,
it,
and
yes.
point out maybe some of the things that you will be talking about.
Yeah, so I would like to, I can already add, for us, the start when we joined as Agile coaches, actually, Raiffeisen Bank International in Vienna, was the 2018. I think end of the 2018, maybe a little bit earlier for you, Lejla. So for us, when it actually started is this year. And then if you ask me, I was actually coming from the startup at that moment and coming to this big corporate, although I have been working before in the corporates. But we did find exactly this, what Lejla was already mentioning. So highly regulated environment, obviously. Working in silos, so kind of like business works on its own, IT works on its own, regulatory works on its own, security, etc. Then kind of like no place for innovation, but being really excellent and keeping things stable, but not taking the time or initiatives for entrepreneurship. So all of those kind of feelings. I mean, I think you can relate to some of those. You also saw something like this in your own companies, right? Yes, that's a good answer. Cool. So for us, this is where it starts. Maybe when did it start for you?
I can also add to this. So back in 2018, I was working in sales, and really I heard some buzzwords about agile, but I didn't really know what it means. And actually Lejla and Toko, who is in the audience today, asked me to go for coffee because my boss asked me if I wanted to be a product owner. And I was like, what is that? What does it mean? I really had no clue. And I then asked Lejla and Toko, what does it mean that I cannot Google? I mean, I can Google all the terminology and find out what it means, but what does it mean in like my actual work environment? And they sold it to me quite well. The start was then rough because coming from sales, then being thrown into a room with all IT guys was a little bit of a culture shock, I have to admit. But this is, yes, how it started. And I was part then of one of the first Scrum teams in our big company, and we really had to fight for it. So we were lucky that we were supported to be really taken out of the daily business and really had some freedom to do it, which was important, but we had to fight for it. And it was really important to do this step. We had to justify ourselves so many times to move forward. And yes, this was my experience to start in this journey pretty early on.
And Tymon, do you want to talk about word or two about your start?
So I started roughly 3 years ago, so the journey was actually quite on the way, and in Agile Delivery Compliance. I think there was Agile already kind of, I wouldn't say established, but the first steps were done. But what I found was, if you just kind of calling something Agile is not really being Agile. Yeah? So it's quite easy to kind of establish a Scrum team, to have daily stand-ups, to do some sprint planning and so. But I think at the essence there were still some pieces missing, and one piece, for instance, which was missing was the collaboration between the business and the so in my case then compliance area and actually the IT area. So there was still quite a separation. So early on I worked a lot on that, so to really make sure that we have fusion teams, that we get experienced enough colleagues from compliance who are willing to work on IT products, bringing in their knowledge, iterating on them into the teams. That was one thing. Second thing was the product owners, the early product owners in compliance were, I would say, the most junior. So they asked around and kind of nobody wanted. So then some juniors would be nominated, and they grew, yeah? So now, of the first kind of batch, I would say 2, 3 of the first 5 are really experienced product owners, by the way, by the time now. But it was kind of that's kind of a bit the how it was handled, and so I worked also a lot on the product owner education, also in when we had to replace product owners because they moved on finding really great product owners, as I think they are a really key role in agile product team. So and the third thing was to actually establish this more iterative approach in terms of not that the Scrum cycle is iterative and you still have like a half-yearly or yearly release for one of your most key products as it was when I started, but to really improve this release cycle to be able to deliver value faster and also then iterate on that, on this improvement. So there we went from a yearly release cycle to a 6-week release cycle, and really that was also quite a paradigm shift. I was told, no, that's not possible. You need to test everything. God forbid what happens if, I don't know, the sanction screening doesn't work. Then this is one of the very key things in compliance. So then we are really screwed. So, but if you have the processes, my belief that this is not only works, but it's even the better way. Yeah? So that were the things I worked on.
All right. So you already started, because one of my next question would have been, so what were the actual reasons? Why did you do this? I mean, a lot of banks talk about change, but, what was it? Fad was the first thing that Chris said, or fad, and then your fear of missing out, and then the FUD. But for a lot of banks, it seems to be a fad, more so than an actual change. So what was it for you? What were the true reasons? And can you elaborate on that? I heard Tymon say some things already that probably were some of the reasons, but please, so anyone.
I can do it. It was popular.
So there was a bit of a fad to it, though, at some point.
It's rather a joke. It's rather a joke. No, but it's actually exactly what I said. So if you look at the time to market, which is measured in months or even years, and on what's happening on the market at that moment are these digital banks, new banks, and neobanks actually. And if you start considering them as your competitors, obviously you want to change something. So as said, a traditional bank is very, very good towards keeping things stable, keeping it in a high quality maintenance. But if you want to become innovative, obviously you need to find a way and space to do those things. Also, obviously, entrepreneurship. How do we engage more into this? How do we go down that road? So all of those things somehow started for us to question the way how we work. And the way how we work the answer to what can be changed, it existed on the market. It was called Agile. So if we would look around, we would see these different companies going down that road. We would be like, okay, this sounds as something that we can do. But also what you can see here on the slides, it did not just come up from the management or like a bottom or actually top down when someone just comes in. From tomorrow you should be Agile. The practices in software development, like extreme programming or any other methods of Agile way of working, they already existed in the bank, and you see it here. There was some experimentation there already done. So all of those things kind of clicked. Matched, yeah. And then?
Yeah, but to add to this, it's not only that there are neobanks and other banks coming to the market, but think about it. How often do you change your bank? Probably not very often. So I think key is in a bank to keep your customers satisfied, to have customer satisfaction. And I think one point to this is you cannot really differentiate yourself by your product, right? You do your cash transaction, you maybe buy some investment product, whatever, but it's pretty much the same at every bank. So the product is nothing that you can set yourself apart, but how you do it and how you work with your customer is really a key point to differentiate yourself from your competitors and in the end safeguard your business. And I think here Agile really delivered a way of doing it faster, and we were very surprised. I mean, I don't work with private individuals as customers, but other banks are our customers. And we were really surprised how willing and open they were to help us to move forward in this journey. We were first expecting that they are not willing to spend time with us to work on improvement, innovation, and so on, but they were really open. So we really sat down and had a really open discussion, and they didn't benefit from it. So it's not like we gave them a discount on their fees or anything like this, but they were really open for this change and really helping us to move forward. And I think this is a really important point. It's really to keep your customers satisfied in the end, and involving them, making their voice heard, I think is a key point for a bank, or I'm sure also for other institutions where you can only differentiate yourself by some minimal things, really. Yeah.
To differentiation, responding to competition.
Focusing on customer. We were too focused on ourselves, to our stability, and to be able to keep the business running. And Raiffeisen was rather having the strategy of being follower until that moment, but this was also change of the paradigm, and then we wanted to be not follower, rather leader. Yeah.
You are here because you call this a success, right? So what makes it a success? How do you define success so that they might understand that as well?
Maybe I can start, and of course colleagues can jump in. Yeah, we are obviously all here because we are proud of what we have achieved. We had believers and non-believers in our organization, of course. We call it success, and how we know that it's success, exactly like Caro actually explained. And if we see our business results and customer-related indicators, such as customer satisfaction indicators and primarily financial results, if they are moving up or forward, then we see that we are successful. So it's not the only one, but for us this is the primary one and the main one that confirms or was confirming that we were on the right path. But of course we also had many different indicators in order to check on ourselves and follow up on our bets that if we are on the right track, that we can adjust, and we did many times. So it's absolutely not, and it was not straight line. It was quite the opposite, rather two steps forward, one back, sometimes one forward, three back, and stuff like that. But it's a progress, right?
So we make, this is what Lejla is talking about, we make some bets. We were thinking, what does Agile mean for us? And what are the areas where we want to make some changes and improvement? And the bets were exactly in regards to customer value, competitive edge, collaborative workforce, and company profit. So this is, you ask us, Petri, how we would measure it. We do some KPIs and we have some measures, but we would rather on a organizational level measure the improvements in these 4 areas, or actually check whether our bets and hypotheses in those areas kind of paid off. On a team level or on a let's say product level, we would measure exactly the business value and everything else. And maybe here you want to say something, Carol.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, success to me sounds a little bit like you tick the box and it's done. So I think this is not what we wanted to bring across. So success really is that we see progress, we see that it works with some real life example. We have this, what my colleagues already mentioned, we have success stories and we know it can work, but there's so many areas in our institution where there is still quite a road ahead of us to go, and yeah, so I guess my colleagues who are coaches are not bored at all. So really a lot of work to do, but for me, now in a new role, really good to have this in my background, being in a product team where it really worked, where we really could create value for our customers, and now at my responsibilities with really pretty complex financial products where we have daily business, it has to be right on time, and I think it also gives you the confidence, you have good examples, it can work even in a challenging environment. I think this is also a success for every individual in an organization.
Yeah, and to add on this, we didn't have a concrete goal, like reach this many agile teams or do this and that. It kind of evolved because we were learning, and that's an important message to send. And we were learning what is possible, because when you start this with such a huge company and with all of these constraints and boundaries, you don't know how this might look like. And especially in the banking world, we were discussing this the other day. Who are our competitors? Who did we look up into in regards to agile transformation? And to be honest, we kind of looked into us, how much we can go forward and how we can learn and what's the next goal. So that's how we also measured.
Yeah, and agile was never a goal for itself, and it still is not, yeah. What we often experience in the exchange with other colleagues or in other industries as well, yeah. People sometimes tend to have it as a goal, you know, like, let's put stamp.
Check. Okay, so I assume these evolved over time, or did they stay much the same? I mean, if you go back 6 years, well, 5 years, let's say 5 years, 2018, do you remember this, sort of the same way of phrasing this? Did this evolve over time? You mentioned something to that effect, but anything that you can open there, like how did that, when you learned more, how did it change your sort of targets or hopes?
Yeah, it definitely evolved. And I would say that 4 of these areas or pillars, or however we call them, probably maybe we might change the wording sometimes, but they were, I think, our base. But absolutely, as we were maturing and as the organization was growing, and we all, as individuals also were evolving, it also grew. I can give you example maybe in engineering part, and then I will probably give it to Tymon and Anna to talk about that more, but that is one example. At the beginning, of course, we were totally immature in that area, right? But then through time and through establishing first teams, also on the example of this first team with Caro, continuous integration and continuous deployment, test automation. They were totally unknown to the team. Also, the practices in the organization were just starting. We had few people who experimented with that, and then we had few teams who also tried, but this was all rather on an island approach, I would say, like separated. Yeah. So we then learned from that and figured out how important is that actually to enable agile way of working. So without having engineering part as a base and enablement, it for sure doesn't work. So it was one of our first learnings. Then we obviously also adjusted our objectives and goals in that area as well, where we now with the teams have super concrete KPIs in that measurement related, for example, for DevOps. It's just one example, yeah.
Yeah, because when you start with this assumption of we don't maybe have enough engineering competencies in a bank, because it's a bank, it's not a software company. And I come from software development, and this was already like, oh, okay, so we cannot start with same assumptions. We have to figure out how far can we go. So we want to be faster, we want to be quicker on the market, we want to be more innovative. We cannot without these preconditions, without technical enablers. So what do we do first? Probably makes sense that we invest in this, because that's the name. It's an enabler. It's a precondition, obviously. So some very smart people in our organization actually realized this, that this is where we should invest first. Also move away a little bit. Now, this might be a little bit challenging to say, but move a little bit more from vendors, or observing them more as end-to-end, part of the end-to-end team. So going also in the collaborative workforce. So we made an assumption, but we didn't know if all of those things were possible, because we had all kinds of different constraints. Some of those with the contracts with the vendors, some of those with, will we be able to find on the market engineers? Will we be able to come to these platforms and these engineering values and practices that will allow us to move forward? So yeah, after we nailed it down, then also our appetite increased. Right, Tymon?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, it evolved definitely, and it's still evolving. So I think the first thing what happened is when what I at least observed in my area was we gave the teams really big autonomy. So the teams were kind of then able to try new things, to start with new technologies, to solve the topics on their way, which surfaced a lot of innovation inside the teams. But at some point, of course, we also then realized that, and it's kind of obvious, but that's, I think, also a part of this evolution, is that you still need to ensure that the teams somehow align, yeah, between each other. Because especially in technology, it's kind of, if you have a zoo of different technologies used, then it's at some point becomes quite complicated, and on the talent side, on the reuse side, and so on. And this is something where we and then thought how we actually ensure this collaboration between the teams and this alignment. And here we have things like chapters and guilds kind of on the organizational side, where team members are actually from different teams are kind of aligning on topics. But we also have to think beyond that, because we also realized that even with chapter and guilds, it does not necessarily mean that we are kind of steering in a homogeneous direction. So we had also other, and we still are on this journey. Thoughts here how to kind of give the teams on one hand kind of this golden paths, how to develop certain things, so to make it easier for the team to solve certain problems, and then actually drive them to this golden path without taking away completely the autonomy. On the other hand, also providing platforms which are reusable between the teams, which really provide value for the team. And here I think the role of a platform also changes in our organization, because in the end, I think in the past it was more like you have to use this, period. But if you have autonomy in the teams, then the platform itself also has to be it's like a marketplace. You need to be a great platform so that engineers in the teams actually use it. So here the whole thought and process and dynamics of how you build a platform, how you distribute it to the teams, and so is changed and is changing. So this autonomy of the teams has surfaces a lot of innovation, but still you need to direct it in a common direction. Yeah.
It's really interesting how differently we think about questions. I think because when we were, I don't remember the exact wording now, but what was our goal? And the first thing that came to my mind was exactly that was the problem, to bring across what our goal is. Because in the end, an agile team, whatever it is, and especially one that you take away from the daily business, in a company like ours, it costs money, it's expensive, and you need to justify the cost. And the management by then, when we started, was used to having, a table, Excel, really fancy, with all the numbers,
Cost
crunched.
benefit.
Yeah, and this feature costs this. But what if you're just starting? How would you even know? You didn't have any contact to your clients. You didn't have any conversation yet. How do you know what your goals are? Of course, you have some direction where you want to go. You have an idea in your mind. But already starting with it, taking you out from your daily job, costs the company money. And I think, to me, this was the challenge, to start and to justify it and still convince management, hey, we are not 100% sure yet what we will show you in 3 months from now, but we know it's a good idea. So, and this was really challenging, and I think this mindset has changed for sure. So now, also in our company, we have some more room for experiments. But back then, we didn't have it really.
No, they didn't believe in us,
Yeah.
right? I mean, when you went for this learning budget approval for your MVP, right? They said okay. I mean, they were so stubborn. Give them this money,
You
and
get
then,
a little bit of money for a couple of weeks, and then show us what you did.
And when they came back with MVP, everyone was surprised. They in 3 months, really, they were shocked.
Yeah, but they were in parallel. What we are aware were these bigger initiatives where a board would place a bet that they will deliver something very innovative, and they would give the money to this. And this is exactly the problem that Carol was saying. You place a bet, you put a goal without any prior knowledge, and you don't change. I mean, Eric Ries was telling this the other day. You never change the overall mission, right? But the goal it always changes based on how you are learning. But then what is really important for all of us or for our organization, was to know when to stop this or to learn from this. So it's not that if you made a wrong bet, now you have to resuscitate it continuously and live with it to the rest of your life. I mean, it's not like it's marriage or something like this. In different parts of the organization, there were these different approaches, which...
Maybe we have some experiences in that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Later, in coaching corner.
Oh yeah, so they have promised to show up at the coaching corner sometimes, at least some of the breaks. So if you walk past and see them there, just drop by and ask for further questions there, whatever we can't answer during the Q&A. Now, if you had to pick one advice you would give based on this experience to someone possibly in a similar situation, in the kind of a role that you're in, like either as a coach or a product or a platform technology business, what would be the one advice? Let's limit it to one. I know there's probably more advice you would like to give, but pick one. Who goes first?
I mean, I can go. They are looking at me because I took this position. Only one, and I take the role of agile coach. I would say always be brave and do your stuff. No matter what others say, you just go, through the walls, through the hills, and you find your way. This is my advice.
Tymon, do you take the next one? What's your advice?
I would also have said start and readjust, iterate, on the improve, and incorporate the whole team always.
For me, it's not accepting no as an answer. So just always push for a way. There is always a way. If you have a good idea, if you believe in yourself and your team, there is a way. and even if hundreds of people telling you no, look for another way.
I would go, oh, sorry, please. Yeah, coming from a product owner, this is really big. I would go with what Lejla said, formulated differently. You need to be a little bit crazy, really. I think that I have been a little bit crazy in the way how I do my work as an agile coach, and I like this really much the saying, play to win, don't play not to lose. So be a little bit more adventurous, courageous.
What would be one thing you wouldn't do again? Out of this, what was a mistake you remember or a failure that you don't want to repeat?
In life or with...
In this, well, yeah, we're not talking about the personal life, but that's okay, we can keep doing. But if out of this experience, because that might be something that someone might again learn from, not do the same mistake, or at least be more aware of, if they see something you did and didn't work in their context. What would you not do again?
I think I want to build on that, taking no as an answer in regards of starting without business. Yeah? I think this was done at the beginning, and kind of, yeah, let's do it. But I think this is really needs to be there from the get-go. Yeah?
Maybe I can also continue, rather again from, many things like from the organization and now like pointing out, but rather from let's say, coaching role again. Because me personally, I also really, guys, don't like this agile coach thing, like just as a term, yeah. Because we do much more and different things, right? But okay, we can have meetup or discussion on that. I wouldn't, because I always use whatever needed and all my expertise and knowledge and beliefs, and put in that, as Caro said, like if I believe in something. So maybe sometimes I really shouldn't do that. Yeah, I think if I would go back in some situation in the organization, I would rather than have different approach maybe, yeah, because I matured together with the organization, yeah.
I don't have a very sophisticated answer to your question, but it's more a personal answer to it. Like probably everyone, I have a really hard time with failing. And I think you really have to turn off this overthinking what went wrong. Just move on quicker. I think this would be my answer. Probably not only something for Agile, but in general.
Yeah, I'm left. I guess I'm okay with all of the failures because we were reminiscing this morning. We were reflecting on one of the situations where we were and where I was starting as a coach and I didn't have enough really personal coaching capabilities and how this looked like. But it makes you reflect and then you learn. What I would do in my role as an agile coach, rather, would be to challenge more and not accept, because sometimes we just accept like, this person, is not a really good product owner, but maybe we can do something with this. He really wants to be an engineer, but maybe we can do something in the product owner role. So often we settle for these things, and I think I should be better at challenging, being really more aggressive about that.
Call me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's that saying, what not to do. But anyways, general advice. Now, at some point, and in this, you mentioned the upper management. In some of the early conversations, you talked about the role of the upper management in this change. I mean, can you elaborate a little bit about that? Because, a lot of times people say that without the support of upper management, these things will fail because they will ultimately decide otherwise. So, can you talk about that? What was their role a little bit?
I think that it's, I strongly believe, and based on our example, that without management buy-in, senior management, meaning board, it cannot work. In our case, it's, I think, really good thing that we had both top-down and bottom-up. And it probably also gives this uniqueness to our story. But coming back to the management topic, in our case, it meant that first of all, this point, what we mentioned in 2017, 2018, accelerating, it was really driven by the senior manager lady. She got it as her role to be in the transformation lead role for the head office and the whole group. She formed the team, and some of us are still in this team of agile coaches. But not only that, so this was the start, right? So this was this management, but also very soon the whole management board stood behind that in a real sense, not declaratively, but really showing with their in their work. So they live it and not only talk it. So they walk the talk, I would say. Yeah. Of course, still. There is huge room for improvement, but from the very beginning they were in that. There are many examples. For example, maybe vendor management is a cool one because I really like it, and I always remember that, as Anna said, and probably you all face it, we are really huge. We have many vendors, and if you want to work in cross-functional agile team, and if you want to have iteration for 2 weeks, and you have vendor who expects you to send specification, and then they like tell you how many man days, and then we will test, and you know the story, blah blah. So it doesn't work. So I mean, we can point ourselves on our head, but it will not work. And we really struggled. Like top down there in the teams, we struggled. But then at some point of time, our CEO of the whole group said that we will give the time to our vendors that they adjust. If they don't want to work with us in agile way, we will find new ones. And also, in parallel with that, our colleagues from procurement joined us, and then we worked on the ways how to make contracting different. So of course, you cannot work in agile way and have fixed price contract, right? I mean, no way. So all the time clash. And also this was huge change, but it didn't happen overnight. But also management from procurement, like senior management was there. But I would say the driving force, of course, was our board.
Any other example stories that, maybe one more?
Yeah, so trust. They gave us trust. And I really mean this this is a big thing, and we tend to forget about it. No one came and said, now you're a bank, you will do SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework. Or you will do, McKinsey
Don't mention.
Yeah, McKinsey says you should do this. Accenture says you should do this. No, they gave us the trust to find, and the time to experiment, to find the right operating model, to find the right approach. They believed in our expertise. They believed in the management who was hiring kind of all of us. So I think this is actually very, very huge. We tend to forget, but it's huge.
Now, that's management, that's the top. It's easy to have opinions at that level and then they propagate down. But then there's the other side of the one. You mentioned teams already and working with the teams. What kind of things did you use or how did you get the people in the teams to on board with this? What kind of quick stories that you can share from that side?
So I think it's a typical change.
And by the way, how did you get the people to change, not just to be on board, but to actually change the ways that they work?
Yeah.
Didn't you know that there is a button, Everyone has button. You just press this button, and from tomorrow on we are changed.
Okay, so that's easy then.
We also give stamps, like from tomorrow you're agile.
Okay. That's wonderful. I want to
So if you want to change, you just call us. We come and press the button.
Okay, a bit more seriously.
Yeah, in general, I think it's a change exercise, and of course, if you're used to work in a certain manner, to change to a new way of working, this is always causes a lot of questions, fears, etc. So we are kind of all a bit change resistant as human beings. So what we found, at least in my areas, was it's always good to have kind of some lighthouse examples. So if you manage to really build it first 1-2 teams, which actually show the others that it works that way, where kind of the enthusiasm can be felt. This is something which worked very well. Additionally, I think it's also important that this thing comes from within. So I don't believe in kind of some consultant coming in and telling you, hey, you need to work like that, and then disappearing. So that this that we did this all from inside, also setting up dedicated agile coaches and so, which work from inside the organization. That's something what really then jumpstarts or kind of helps the ones who are struggling with the change to proceed. And of course, it's always communication over communication.
Yes.
In the end. Yeah? You need to have this always in mind on all leadership levels. Yeah? And this is quite often, I think, a bit underestimated.
Right. Looking at the time, and we do want to get you all on the break and the coffee, whatever. The food, actually, is the next one, isn't it? So to get you out there on time, we have about 7 minutes of time. I checked, at least, I don't see any questions in the app. There's a lot of questions. How do I update this? All right, so let's say Q&A. Oh yes, there's a lot of them. All right, this should be live because I'm not going to be pressing this all the time. Let's pick the one with the most votes. What would you consider as your biggest competitive advantage? I mean, is that question? I mean, someone probably in the audience asked that. Is that as a bank, or that in this change?
Probably as a bank. Huh?
Well, that's a bank. Well, okay. If you want to have a quick answer on that one, because it sounds like advertising almost. So go. Anyone?
I would kindly ask Caro to answer. I mean, we can, but probably Caro from business side. What would you, Caro, say?
I think in our region, we are really the ones who push innovation forward. We stick there. We have really good people on board. We're not hesitant to hire new people who support us, but we're also very good in keeping good people and good knowledge in our group.
Right, thank you. I love the second question. You mentioned you need to be innovative in comparison to your competitors. What innovation are you most proud of? So we have an emotion connected to this question. What are you most proud of? Not the biggest necessarily, but what are you most proud of?
I am most proud of Global Investor Gate.
Well, in the work...
I mean, what does it mean? We are all, of course, we have our babies, you know. I have my boss sitting here, and then
But if
he told me that I have to give my baby back, you know. So this is the Caro was product owner that she can say, but this is, I think, I still believe this was breakthrough on the market, right?
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, this is always something very personal. I cannot speak for the bank. It will never be like do it justice, but
yes.
It's the success that we had with this product, and it's still there, this product with a new product owner, and it's doing really well. And I think, yeah, I'm most proud of this success story. And yeah, probably the product itself, the name doesn't give you anything. So.
But this is a success not just in the product, but also in the way that you created
Yes.
the product.
Yes,
Yes.
it's really used very often. It's also, some users pay for it because there's a functionality that customers have to pay, and it also helps with automation in the company by clients using it instead of sending emails.
Okay. Lejla, Anna, let's take the next one with you. So what did you actually do as an Agile coach?
I mean, you heard Lejla.
Pressing buttons.
Pressing buttons. We are a relatively big team, so the job responsibilities are not the same for all of us because also we have different backgrounds and different competencies. And we tend to sometimes, depending on the context and situation, rather be more Scrum Masters, sometimes if this is needed. But in other occasions, we are really coaching on the methodology itself. So we are starting the team from the beginning. We are then coaching the roles. We are coaching the team. But we are also coaching for example, Lejla and me, because we have this expertise and we want to do this, we also coach the stakeholders and everyone from the board members until the team members.
The whole organization.
The whole organization. So
Designing the operating model, yeah.
correct. So we would set up also, we would go into a certain context with a certain team. This is what Caro experienced. Like, what does a product owner do? Or we would recognize who has the capacities and skills maybe to do this role. We would recognize if a Scrum Master is the right one, and we would give advice. We would be responsible for the journey, or we would feel responsible for the journey of those people. And ultimately, and maybe if some other colleagues are here, they would not agree, we, and this is a little bit different from the consulting role and teaching role because we are part of the organization, we feel responsible for the delivery.
Yes.
Anything, Tymon or Caro, you want to add something?
What does
Oh,
Imagine
sorry.
Could-
What did you see them do? Let's ask it this way. What did you see them do?
Basically a support system. Whenever you needed some advice on how to do it, really for how to do things best, how to handle situations, really a good support system.
Right. 2 more minutes. What makes a good product owner? Let's take that one. It's a bit more Scrum or Agile question, but what makes a good product owner? You have some experience, so what would you say?
Tymon is ready to answer.
Yes, this one I was. The other ones were more for my colleagues here, but maybe this one I can contribute a bit. Yeah, a good product owner is, in my opinion, a mini CIO for this product. So it's quite a big role in terms of you need to have skills in many areas. There is team leadership skills needed. There is a deep understanding of the product development cycle needed. You need to understand the customer. You need to be interested, open-minded in understanding how this product is built. So you need to understand financials. So it's like a mini CEO role, like a small company in a company. On a personal level, I think you need to be very self-reflected. You need to be also humble with your opinions. So I think it's something, especially in the agile world, that we often kind of think that this will gonna work this way. Yeah? And Caro, you mentioned before failure and kind of being open for failure and kind of accepting it. So here you need to really understand that you try out things, you measure them, and then you really objectively assess and be able to change your kind of way very flexibly. Yeah, there's quite a lot of things I already mentioned. So I think it's a very demanding role. It's one of the most important roles, I would say. I also know that at Google, they kind of, for instance, at Google, product owners, product managers, they are the superstars. Yeah, so it's a very, very important role, and you really need to be good in choosing great product owners and invest in them, also from kind of how you develop them and give them the freedom. Yeah, so.
There is a huge debate because in Airbnb currently they removed all of the product managers at the moment. Like they only
Not only that, they switched to kind of waterfallish
style
structure.
of yeah.
Interesting. All right. It is 15 past 1, right?
Yes.
16 past 1. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, dear panelists. And as mentioned, I'm sure you're going to have something to eat or whatever you decide, of course. But if you have further questions, I saw many more questions there in the Q&A. Drop by at the coaching corner. Yeah, if anyone is present there, just come and talk.
Or on Matchabout, write us a question or add us on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So you're going to look at those questions in there and
Yes,
just put
I will
something
look
up.
at it, yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right.
We have our representative.
Thank you, everybody.